Hi friends, and welcome back. Today I'm excited to share this cozy little sunflower pattern with you. You can find in the description below a link to the pattern where you can download it, print it, and transfer it onto your fabric and stitch along with me, or feel free to stitch in your own creative style. So here to get started with this pattern, I'm using the satin stitch and I'm using 4 different pieces of DMC embroidery floss. So I'm actually using 3 strands of DMC 436 and 1 strand of DMC 712 to create a 4 color combo piece of thread. And here I am satin stitching, but it is somewhat like radially at an angle to go kind of with the grain and with the flow of the petals here. For the next layer to the flower, I'm again just using the satin stitch and 3 strands of DMC 437 and then 1 strand of DMC 436 to create another 4 color combination. Here I'm using all 6 strands of DMC 3863 and I'm using the French knot and I'm just going around the perimeter of the center circle of the flower. So I'm not actually filling in that total circle that I have on my pattern. I'm just going around the border of the flowers there, and then we'll fill in the inner circle with a different color. For the center of the sunflower, I'm again using the French knot and I've made another color combination. So here I'm using 2 strands of the DMC 3863 and 4 strands of DMC 936 to create a pretty color combination with the green and the brown. I find it so fun to see the different color combos and how it looks as each stitch is a little bit different and a little unique with the different combinations. To embroider all of the leaf petals on this pattern, I'm using 3 strands of DMC 936 and 1 strand of DMC 712 to create a 4 color combination. I think I just made a little typo up there, but I'm using a total of 4 strands of thread, but either way, if you use those other strands up there, it'll still look just as great. moving on to the outer portions of this pattern, for this little plant sticking out on the side with all these little petals, I'm using the stem stitch to embroider the stem, and here I'm using 2 strands of the green DMC 936. And for the leaf portion of this little foliage, I'm using the Lazy Daisy stitch, and I'm using the same threads, which is 2 strands of DMC 936. Again, here for this other little plant sticking out of the side, I'm using the stem stitch and 2 strands of the brown DMC 3863. Now for every dot that I made on the pattern that's just kind of floating around the border, I'm using the French knot, and I'm creating a French knot for every dot on the pattern, and I'm using 3 strands of DMC 3364, which is a pretty light green. And lastly, to complete this pattern, for our last little plant that's left, I'm using a bunch of tiny French knots to fill in those little circles, and I'm using 2 strands of DMC 436, which is that slightly darker orangish yellowish color, which I absolutely love. And with these last few stitches, that brings our project to completion. I hope you enjoyed this pattern, and if you want to stay tuned for other patterns to come, feel free to subscribe, and if you're interested, feel free to check out this other free winter A-frame embroidery pattern that's also free and you can find a download of and get stitching today. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, my friends, happy stitching!